Well, hello everyone, my name is Nick, and today we're going to carry on with my houseplant show and tell series with my entire Anthurium collection. Unfortunately for me, there are far less Anthuriums in my collection than, say, my peperomias or my philodendrons or my Hoyas. So today we just get to sit down and relax and share the few Anthuriums that I have, which currently there are 7 different Anthuriums in my collection. And while I only have a couple, I really appreciate that all of these sport such different foliage. It's something I've really been appreciating lately, and I have definitely brought in a few more Anthuriums into my collection in the past couple months because of that. So let's start off with the one that I've had in my collection for the longest time. I've probably only had this one for about 3 years now, though. I'm a little new to caring for Anthuriums. Like I said, the bulk of my current collection came in within the past year, if not the past couple months. So this one right here is an Anthurium Superbum, and I really appreciate just how prehistoric this plant just looks overall, from the leaves being just like large and paddle shaped to having that like red on the back to just sporting this weird corrugated foliage that I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's just all ridgy and bumpy, and it's just so interesting, and it grows off of this central stem here. It's really a really cool plant. And these, back when I worked at the houseplant store, they did not sell very well. People were not very interested in these houseplants, and I don't really understand why, because they really do have such an awesome vibe. I think it's a very great starter Anthurium, I guess, because I know a lot of Anthuriums can become, you know, quite pricey over time. This one was like $20. So I think that's a pretty good deal in comparison to many of the other ones that have just been like skyrocketing on the market lately. But admittedly, this doesn't have like that typical shape that people are looking for in Anthuriums and those leaf patterns, but that's kind of why I love it more. I think it just looks fantastic. I used to love mounting these onto bark just to make them look like they were just like pulled off of a chunk of a tree in the rainforest, and you could hang it on your wall just because of, you know, the way that this pattern grows. I think this is called a bird's nest Anthurium, so it gives off that similar vibe of like a bird's nest fern when you have it hanging up on the wall, but just letting those roots really show, and just the undersides of the leaves also, because they really do sport such a nice red tone. This is the newest leaf right here. This has been a rather slow grow for me. I feel like these leaves probably grew on the plant like 2 years ago, and I feel like this took a little breather the last year, and it just started growing for me in the past month or so. So hopefully I get some more growth in this, but throughout the time that I've had this plant, I haven't really known it for holding on to too many leaves at a time. I think at maximum it's had like 4 leaves on it, so we'll see how it holds up. Like I said, I'm still kind of getting to know Anthuriums. Even though I've had this one for a couple of years, it really hasn't been a very vigorous grower for me, but now that it's living by a window instead of underneath a grow light, it seems to be enjoying those conditions a little bit more, but only time will tell. And another one that I have had for almost as long as that one, I would say, is this guy right here. So this is my Anthurium VGI, which this, I'm assuming, probably doesn't look like many of the VGIs that you're probably seeing on social media, as this is still pretty young. It's a little wonky. You can see like some of the older leaves were like kind of struggling coming in as it was acclimating to my home. But now that I've had this one for a couple of years, I'm getting pretty hopeful that it will start to grow a little bit more and start to feel itself a little bit more. It has been a learning process, like I said. I'm still getting to know Anthuriums. You can see there's a new leaf right here that still has a little bit of redness on it that's still growing a little bit larger. And then this is a brand new leaf right here in the back, which you can see just the way it looks. So I really appreciate the way these leaves grow. All Anthurium leaves grow in this manner, but I've just really appreciated watching my veitchii grow, maybe because it's the one that's been growing the most for me over the past couple of years. But the way they just start out so small, and this leaf will just continue to grow in size. I'm assuming right now it's not going to get very much larger than the ones that I have over here, but it's still really nice to see them just start off really small, already holding their shape that they're going to have as an adult, and just continuously grow. It kind of is like defying the laws of mass. It's pretty interesting. I know that this plant has got a lot of popularity going for it over the last couple of years. I know it was a little difficult to find. I believe it's grown by tissue culture now, so I think it's probably a little bit more easy to get your hands on. But I remember I purchased one from like NSE Tropicals like 4 years ago, and it lasted for like a year, but then it got a pretty bad case of the thrips. I definitely struggle with thrips with my Anthuriums. I was even cleaning off a couple thrips off my Superbum earlier before I was filming this video, so that is something I really do have to keep in mind when I'm caring for my anthuriums. They really do seem to be thrip magnets, but I will use some systemics every now and again. But anyway, I had that anthurium, and although it started growing well for me, the thrips just really took it over. They can really do a number on a plant, and it really just brought it to its grave. So I was a little upset because, you know, they were decently hard to find, but I remember just randomly once they had these online at Pistol's Nursery, which I usually just like to buy pottery from Pistol's Nursery. No shade towards their plants. They have wonderful houseplants, but I'm usually just checking out their website for their pottery. However, they had these one day and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. It was like 20 bucks at the time, which is a very, very good deal. There is a decent amount of plants in the pot. I'm counting at least 5. So, like I said, in a couple years, I'm feeling very hopeful that this will be a very nice specimen, but it has definitely taken its time. But this is not really known for being a great houseplant. This is something that thrives a little bit more in like a greenhouse or a terrarium setting. So still got to acclimate to my home, but I'm feeling pretty confident now that these couple of leaves are coming in without any damage. I think I got like these two last year, but you can obviously see with the older ones how they really did just take a beating to my standard household humidity. It's just clearly not good enough for it, but I think I'm starting to get the care for this plant down. Let's just hope we can stick with it, because I would really like to have some of those nice long leaves that just give you like those like Salvador Dali vibes with those, that clock picture. This is literally like the same vibe that these leaves give you when they're in their adult form. It's pretty lovely. So stay tuned, hopefully. Let's get this one out of the way. So I have had this one for a while, but it has been on the fritz for a while. You can see that there's a Ziploc bag on it. I might as well take it off because I know it's going to be reflecting the light. I'm trying to revive this. This has been leafless multiple times and then came back. This is an Anthurium Pedatoradiatum. So it's the one that gets those like hand-shaped leaves. That's the best way to describe it. And there are 3 plants in this pot. They don't have any leaves on any of them, but you can see there is hope. There is green tips here. I have it in the plastic bag. Oh, it even looks like there might even be a leaf coming up right here from the way it's just kind of curling over. I don't know, we'll find out, but I just have this one in the plastic bag right underneath the grow light. We are trying our best. I have gotten this thing to put off leaves a couple of times, and then they turn yellow and fall off like a year later. And so we're back here again. I think this is, like I said, either the 2nd or 3rd time that we are leafless, but I'm feeling confident. The Ziploc bag method works wonders. Anytime I have a plant that's on the fritz, I put it inside a glass cloche, or if they don't fit, which this would not fit, inside any glass cloche that at least I have, I put a Ziploc bag over top of it, and that will help me get where I need to go. This is a rescue mission. We're getting there. Not really worth talking about this any longer, but we will get there. And this one is probably one of the more anthuriums that you are thinking of. One of the ones that comes to mind when you think of anthurium. This is Anthurium Magnificum. This is decently new for me. This is from Logi's. And this is one that sports that kind of like crystalline veination on the leaves. It is quite wonderful. This shape of the leaf is probably what people are going to see if they type in hashtag Anthurium on Instagram. So this is definitely one that, you know, holds a more popular status, a little bit held higher on the pedestal, the plant pedestal. But these are very new to me. I have never grown these before. This one is the first one of this nature that I am trying, and I've had this one for like 2-3 months. I just repotted it in the last month after it seemed to have acclimated to my home. This is the newest leaf on the plant, but that plant had already grown on it when I brought it into my home. So we are hoping for the best. I don't know these to be difficult houseplants whatsoever, but I just don't know anything about them other than their appearance, and that they prefer a soil that's probably a little bit more chunky and got some nice sphagnum moss in it. Which, speaking of sphagnum moss, not that I'm trying to rush through this houseplant, but I don't really have very much to say about it other than the fact that it's just freaking gorgeous. I do have an Anthurium that I'm growing in sphagnum moss entirely, which this thing, oh my gosh, like, it looks okay. I'm sure it looks worse on camera than it does in person, but this thing, it definitely already needs a drink. It just dries out so often. This is an Anthurium Gracile, I think is how you say it. This is a not really the most foliage intensive Anthurium. It's probably just the most standard leafy Anthurium out there. But I wanted to grow this because, like I said, it's just so different from other Anthuriums. Also, I'm kind of a sucker for plants that are just kind of like plain like this. But I thought this would be a fun one to try growing inside a Vanda basket, which it has been a great plant to grow inside a Vanda basket. It's just me who doesn't pull it off of the ceiling often enough. I probably should be watering this like every 4 or 5 days, but I probably get up there like every 7 or 8 days, so you can do the math. But the reason why I'm saying this is such an excellent Anthurium to grow in this method is because you can see on the bottom here, there's an Anthurium that has worked its way down. I guess this plant just makes new plants by itself, or I don't really know the science behind it. But anyway, I planted up in this Vanda basket. I removed all the soil. I just bought it in a standard 4-inch pot like we purchased many of our houseplants. I removed all the soil. I put it inside just all sphagnum moss inside this Vanda basket, which breathes very well, so it dries out very quickly. And I just let it do its thing, and it's grown nicely. Not perfectly, it's grown nicely. It's grown well enough for the neglect that it is withheld from me. But I am just pretty amazed of the way that this has just started to creep out of this crack here, and it makes me feel confident that if I continue to care for this adequately, it will continue to create more plants, and perhaps it can start poking out the sides here, or maybe it's coming out the bottom because of gravity. I don't know, but it's freaking cool, and I want more of this. This also puts off like I don't know if it's the inflorescence or what, but it puts off this like weird area that has all these little like red berries on it. Which has happened once or twice for me. At least I've only noticed it once or twice because, like I said, I'm a little neglectful with this houseplant, I will admit. But this was a very inexpensive Anthurium. I bought a full 4-inch pot of it for like $15, so granted, not trying to treat it any less because it costs less than the other ones, but it just makes me feel a little less bad if I kill it completely. But we are still going strong. We still got some nice leaves on this plant. I just definitely need to water it a little bit more often. And now that we're going into the growing season and I'm seeing all this new growth that's appearing on this plant, I think I am going to be making a mental note a little bit more often to be watering this, because this is a really, really cool way to grow houseplants. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna grow some more houseplants in this method because I just recently picked up this Anthurium clarinervum from a local farmer's market with the thought of putting it inside a Vanda basket. You can see there is a new leaf coming in on this one, which I just brought this one home like a week and a half ago. So we are going to find out how it goes. But I'm feeling pretty confident. It looks great. These are apparently pretty reliable Anthuriums to grow, even though they look so gorgeous. I would think that it's not, but the leaves are thick enough. I feel like going into the growing season, this is going to be a good start, especially if I move it over to a Vanda basket inside all sphagnum moss. I honestly think it's going to react really well to that. Do I know it's going to react very well to that? No, but I think it's going to react very well to that, and I think it'll be really cool growing in a similar manner to this, but with these more dynamic leaves, especially as it grows over time. I feel like that could be quite the specimen and look really interesting, which I wouldn't expect this one to continue to like regrow itself in the way that the Gracile has. I'm not familiar enough with Anthuriums to know if it would do that, but that would be pretty freaking cool if some more Anthurium Clearnervum just starts to work its way like out of the bottom of the Vanda basket. But we will cross that bridge when we get there. And last but not least, today this is my Anthurium Polystickum. I just talked about this in my most recent video before this one, so I will not try to bore you with this, but as you can see pretty clearly, this one looks completely different than many of the other ones that I'm talking about today. This would look most similar to the pedatoradiatum if it had leaves on it, but it doesn't. So this one is definitely the outlier for today. You can see it has a nice inflorescence on it, which before, when I filmed the video last time, the spathe was up here, but the spathe, which I could not remember the name for the spathe in the last video. I remember it now, but now it's like unfolded itself. It's like peeled back, and now it's just like showing off this spadix of the inflorescence. It's pretty neat. But from the look of this Anthurium, it looks like it grows in a completely different manner than all the ones that we were talking about before, which I would say literally every single Anthurium prior to this grows in the same growth habit, even though they look entirely different from each other. I guess the clarinervium and the magnificum look pretty damn close to each other, but you know what I'm saying, where they grow up this like really chonky like central area. This one appears to grow in a little bit more of a vining manner, but upright. This one reminds me so much of a Schefflera. That's kind of why I wanted to try this houseplant out, because I've been a sucker for my Schefflera Nova the past couple years, and I really just haven't gone out of my way to bring any other Schefflera in my home because I don't think there really are that many Schefflera. So this one looks pretty close. I thought it'd be fun, and especially with the way that these vines grow. I don't know how well you can see, but literally the way that they are separated, it looks pretty interesting. Like it looks like pothos vines, but they're growing very upright with a thick stem in like a, like I said, a Schefflera manner. So I'm pretty interested to see how this grows. We have something right here. This looks like it might be another inflorescence coming out right here, I'm just noticing. But yeah, I'm just keeping a close eye on this plant as of late because this is very new to me. Some of you commented on the last video saying that this is a pretty easy Anthurium to grow, which, phew, because I was a little nervous that this might require a little bit more humidity or something along those lines, but you guys were saying that it has been a very easy Anthurium for you guys. So I'm excited to see how it goes, but I'm still learning all of this stuff. It's still in its plastic pot. Just watering it once a week as the soil dries, keeping it within the vicinity of an east-facing window, as I typically will just throw any of my new houseplants on like my coffee table or my kitchen counter, which receives a really good amount of light. And that is just how I like to acclimate my plants to my home. So soon this one will have a space of its own, and maybe over time it will maybe be put on like my trellis or something if this is going to continue to grow upright, because these leaves coming off of one of my trellises would be a damn vibe, that's for certain. But I think that's it for today's video. I covered all of my Anthuriums. I even showed you the ugly. It will look good one day, the pedatoradiatum. I'm feeling very confident that just in the matter of a couple months, maybe we'll have a couple leaves, especially with those, how green these tips are. Like, they've never been this green before. It should have just been a nub, but I'm not willing to throw this out because I really appreciate this Anthurium, and we love a comeback story. So thank you so much for joining me today, my entire Anthurium collection. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at phillyfoliage, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great time.